Hey guys, this is Nathan Reitnauer from Why Blue Sound. I'm here today to give you the in-depth walkthrough of Orbit. I'm going to show you every feature, every hidden hotkey, everything, and you're all going to be Orbit ninjas by the time we're done here. So let's jump in. First things first, the presets. Check them out. They're pretty cool. They're varied. They show off all different types of things you can do with Orbit. And onto the interface. So, starting with the top, the moon phases are actually power buttons, and using the key switches down here, you can actually turn them on and off as well. The swap arrows actually allow you to swap the different orbits, and I'll show you when that's useful in a little bit. This is where you choose the sound source, and all 4 orbits have the same access to the full bank of sounds. The sounds are organized by mood, so in this case there's dark ones, dreamy ones, mysterious ones, and aggressive sounds. And obviously those are just starting points, but you know, they kind of fit in those categories and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel here, so starting points are good. Below them you have parameters to modify the sound sources. So gain, pan, tune, cutoff, and resonance. And then you have your filter option here for the cutoff and resonance. So some cool things you can do with these, if you hold down option, it'll actually move all 4 at once, relatively. So if they're all different, you can... And this is great if you do a lot of modifications and it's ends up being too quiet, you just want to turn it up, or if it's clipping, you just want to turn it down real quick, super fast. Everything else has the same functionality, and if you command click, it resets, and if you hold down option when you command click, it resets everything in that row. So super fast experimentation here. Let's go over here. The clone, waves, and random buttons all have to do with the sound that's selected here. So for example, random randomizes them. Clone will take the first one and send it to the other 3, or clone it to the other 3. And waves will move all 4 orbits to the next or previous sound in the sound list. And this is helpful if you have, say, kind of a rhythm or a back and forth going where you have the first and third sound be the same and the second and fourth be the same. Let's go over here. And you just want to keep that back and forth, but you want to try out new sounds. What's also cool you can do with the clone and random buttons is if you hold down command when you click them, it will also affect the orbit parameters here. So for example, command clicking random will kind of do everything. I mean, we've made this kind of intelligent where for the most part you won't get any parameters that are too extreme. So we kind of quantize the pitch so that you won't get microtonal settings, and some of the settings in the filters are just restrained a little bit, so the random actually sounds better than true random, and that's cool. And then command clone will make the second, third, and fourth orbit look like the first and sound like the first, really. So down here we have the settings that dictate how the engine rotates through the sounds. So pulse mode is basically a sawtooth. Oh, here we go with our crazy settings. Let me just initialize here. So rate determines how long it takes to get through an entire cycle. So right now the quarter note is and then we have the depth, which basically determines to what extreme that each sound hands off to the next one. So at 100%, the first sound will be completely silent by the time it wraps around again. And at 0, they're all 4 playing at the same time, and they're not handing off at all. A fun thing to automate. Punch basically says how extreme is the transient. And this also goes for chop, which we call gate, because it's more of a cutoff. Now, a cool trick for sound design is to kind of, some of my favorite sounds anyway, is when the depth isn't necessarily at 100, even if you want a pretty transient thing. I like that sound where there's a bit of ambience in the background, but still get that transient poking out a little bit. It's a very cinematic sound. And then the attack and release are global. So basically, if you turn these up, you can turn it into a pad. And this works especially well in flow mode. So I think that's about it for this page. Let's go to the effects page here. So we took our favorite parameters from the effects that we decided to put on the interface and put them right in front. So you have scream and distort. Stream is a little more aggressive than distort, but you have certain control that you don't have with distort. For example, tone. Kind of acts as a filter. I'm gonna get some trouble. Distort's actually a little more, it's kind of edgier. You can really hear, it actually sounds like it's overloaded already, whereas scream, it's like about to overload. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. Scream is more of an overdrive. And then you have damp, kind of a filter. And then we put some lo-fi effects in here as well. So you have bit crushing, which can be really cool in small amounts. And then reduce, sample rate reduction. it's actually in tune. If you set it to the right amount, you can actually get it in key. And then you have chorus, flanger, and phaser. And these actually work really well with this instrument, I think. Usually I don't use flanger and phaser too much, but with Orbit, I don't know, just always kind of sounds cool. And chorus is more subtle. And delay. This is a very clean delay for the most part. My favorite thing is the stereo, so it'll actually make it bounce left and right. Let's see if I can get that to... So that's kind of cool. Damp is kind of a filter for the echoes. And then we have space. This is kind of my favorite one. So this is actually a convolution, and we've added a bunch of our own convolution reverbs in here. A lot of which are taken from like world-class reverb units, and the other half are creative impulses. I'll show you a little bit of each. Clean room's good if you just want a little ambience. It's one hall. It's kind of majestic sounding. And you can change the length with the size, the pre-delay, the tone, which is basically a filter. So if you want to add a little bit of low ambience, just do that. A little bit goes a long way with these. Even just a little bit, like 6%, will engage the high pass filter in this case. I'm gonna command click that. And let's see what else. Ethereal. This is like an epic 12-second reverb. I love this one. I'm not going to turn the size up because then we'll be waiting forever. More halls. Scorch is actually an impulse of an amp. You get a nice, like, really subtle distortion. See, it just kind of fills it out. And that's not just loudness tricking, that's see, there you go. Small perk hall is the impulse we added to keep the percussive element of any sounds, but still add a little ambience. Space drops. This is actually a kind of a delay that has a filter that makes it sound like it's been pitched. And if you change the size, you can actually get it to be in tempo with your track. Right now it's kind of doing triplets, which is cool. Sub-Elixir is one of my favorites as well. Basically, it adds a lot of low end to whatever you're putting into it. So, for example, there needs to be some low end to begin with, but this really beefs it up. This is before. So it's a nice kind of subharmonic generator in a way. Right here in the interface. I use that one a lot. Suspense is kind of, it sounds mysterious to me. It's also pretty long. Very unique. Alright, enough about reverbs. I love reverbs too much. Low pass filter, this is global. Resonance. You guys know the drill. And the best part of all, every parameter that we have seen so far can be sequenced. So the sequencer is kind of a beast, but we've done a lot of things to make it super easy to use. In fact, you can draw really cool patterns without having to draw anything at all. So, first things first, on buttons. This is where you can save and load your own sequences, and Orbit comes with a bunch, and we're gonna be making as many as we can to give out for free. And it saves basically everything about your badge. All of these settings here will be saved, except for the destination. And the destination basically chooses what's being affected. So you have a lot of cool parameters here. A destination can only be loaded once within these 4 sequences, so if you don't see something in the list, that's why. It's already been assigned, because if we let you send 2 signals to the same parameter, that would not be... Kontakt would not have fun with that. So, let's see here. Let's just do... opening depth. So that's changing this, which is, remember how silent they will get while they're looping around. So and something I should point out is that the line in the middle represents where the parameter is at, what value it's set at before you hit play. Which is great, because if you have a patch that you really like and you just want to change things from there, you don't have to kind of guess, oh, I'm at 75%, like, okay, I think that's like right there. No, you can actually, your 75% is right in the middle, and you can see exactly how you're affecting it. So it's actually much easier than automating in your DAW. So this slider right here is the amount slider. So if you bring it to 0, it's not actually going to affect it. Which is great, so you don't have to go back and redraw things. Rate is how fast the step sequencer goes through the steps. And steps, obviously, is how long it is. You can go up to 64. I'll turn that at least a little bit. So the coolest thing about this whole page is the process menu. And it allows you to draw and modify whatever you have drawn in a single click. So for example, randomize. Sine wave. Beautiful. And what's cool about this, actually, before I go on, is that if you have, say, 16 steps and you do sine wave, it automatically, well, it's smart. It'll adapt. So if you want a sine wave that's, you know, 17/8, you could do that. You have triangle, ramp down, ramp up. And then this determines the playback mode. So forward or backwards, forward then backwards, backwards then reverse. And then 2 more where the first and last step are repeated before they go back in the other direction. So in this case, this is helpful for if you want basically what this will do is it will keep your sequencer in sync with your, say in this case, 4/4 time measure. So otherwise, if you just have this, it'll play 8 this way, but then only 7 that way. Sounds kind of funky. It actually sounds really cool, but a lot of times you want it to sync. So that's why these are here. And then everybody's favorite, random. Now random could be cool on something like Space Send. Kind of discussing here. And then we have all these modifies. So I'll go through them with you guys. I did say it's in depth. All these are described in the manual, by the way. So if you don't want to hear me blab about them, just skip forward a minute. But I'll be quick. So invert inverts the polarity. Reverse reverses the sequence in time. Shift left and right will shift it left and right a step. Soften. Best way to show you is, let's make this high resolution here. There we go. Soften will literally just kind of take off the edge, which is kind of cool. Straighten will take the first and last step and draw a straight line through it. So, like that. Normalize unipolar will move the entire sequence up into this half. So, for example, if you have a sine wave, normalize unipolar. See, how pretty is that? And then normalize bipolar will take... It'll basically blow up the amplitude until either the positive or negative hits full scale. Gate even will take out the even ones. Gate odd will do the opposite. Even pairs does this, which is kind of cool. So you can do rhythmic things too. Then you have gate positive, negative, and bipolar, which will take either the positive or negative and make it full scale. And bipolar will do that to both, instead of deleting what isn't in either the positive or negative. And then we have the quantize functions. This is pretty rad. And this is actually a perfect time to show you global tune, which is actually somewhat of a different beast in Orbit from the rest of the mod destinations. It actually works a little differently because we wanted to make it so that you aren't drawing microtonal stuff when you don't want to, and we want it to be really quick to kind of lock into the pitches that you want. So we've done a couple things. First, when you draw, it's snapped to semitones, and you can actually see it if you look carefully. It'll actually adjust what I'm doing in real time. The maximum range is 2 octaves in either directions, but if you change this halfway, then it becomes an octave. And you'll see it's actually snapping to octaves here too. Otherwise, if we were just able to do that, then it would destroy everything and you'd run out of the room. But this way, it's actually much easier to do what you want to do. And so the quantize features will make it so that, well, it's almost easier to show you. If I quantize 2, there are 2 steps on both the negative and positive that it will quantize to. So in this case, it's very helpful for the pitch. So right now, it's actually quantizing in octaves. Since the full range is 2 octaves, this is 1 octave. That's nothing. And if you went to a 1 octave range, it'll do tritones. Kind of cool. Now, with these different things, you will get different note values. You can do this with anything, but the reason why we really wanted to put it in is to make pitch quantization possible. And you'll see everything is locked to semitones. Now you can change this. If you hold down Shift when you draw, it won't actually quantize it for you. Then if you do quantize 12, it will just give you semitones. So, I hope you guys will find that useful. The one last thing, unless I forgot anything, is these 4, there we go. These 4 key switches actually turn on and off the sequencers. So starting at C, it turns on and off the sequencers, and then starting at F, it turns on and off the actual orbits on the main page, which is helpful for quickly soloing an orbit if you need to figure out what's making that sound that you want to change or turn up. And then on B flat is a gate. All right, so just want to make sure I showed you guys all the hotkeys. Pretty sure I did. But if I forgot anything, I'll put it in the comments. But yeah, that's basically it. Oh, I'm going to show you the swap thing. So you're messing around with something. It's pretty cool for random. By the way, the random actually works pretty darn well. Nice. So, say you're playing this sequence, and then once you record it, you realize, oh wait, blink should actually be the first one, because that's kind of just how it feels. Well, that's why we put these swap arrows in here. Now you can kind of change the order. And now when you quantize it in your sequence, it'll be perfectly in sync. All right, I think that's a wrap. We're gonna make more videos, maybe some extra sound design tutorials, and I think I'm gonna do a patch walkthrough as well, in case you wanna see the cool sounds that we made. Hope you enjoyed this. If you like this video, please like and comment. If you have any questions, you can ask us in the comments, or go to our live chat on our website, or send us an email at theteam@widebluesound.com. This is Nathan Rentnauer from Wide Blue Sound. See you in the next video.